My heart is opening with so much love, joy, and curiosity as today we are excited to have Crystal McIntyre with us, a human design guru and such a beautiful, beautiful artist. I am so beyond ready to dive into the conversation with this beautifully wise soul. And Crystal, I would love to open the floor and have you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Renee. Ah, yes, so my name is Crystal McIntyre, and I am an illustrator and human design expert. I really focus on helping people gain more confidence and self-trust through the lens of human design and really understand this complex system through the lens of illustration. And my main goal is just making it as fun as possible. I think there's a lot of healing out there, and we can get caught up in the seriousness of it. But what if it gets to be fun? And what if it gets to be playful along the way?
Oh, Crystal, I so resonate. And every single being who tunes into this conversation, may you go directly to Crystal's Instagram and just feel the vibration of play that vibrates out of her page. It's so, so beautiful. So thank you, Crystal, for being
Mm.
here in your presence. So to begin our conversation, I'm wondering, how has the act of forward movement transformed your life?
Mm. Wow, such a beautiful question. I was thinking about this today, and as a manifesting generator in human design, change is really important for manifesting generators. And I see the ways in which I really allowed myself throughout my life to change. And being a 1-3, I see the ways in which I changed or made decisions from an unaligned place, or maybe weren't like the best decisions to make. And there was a point where I started doubting myself. And when it comes to decisions, I think indecision or like forward movement, like indecision is kind of the worst place to be, because we move forward and we either learn or and we're growing, so we're either getting what we want or we're learning along the way. And to me, that is the power of decision making, and forward movement is really allowing yourself to fail and to make mistakes and to grow and to just not stay stuck.
The active movement and to not be in that stationary space of maybe fear or
Mm-hmm.
worriness of, oh, if I do this, then what's going to happen? Crystal,
Mm-hmm.
in your life, and before I begin, for all beings who are co-creating this conversation with us right now, I myself am also a 1-3, so having that really passionate learner and also bumping into life too. So everything that you're speaking of today, Crystal, I'm going to be like, ah, back to it. So when you speak of that moving forward action and not being in that stationary space of inaction in your life, has any choice you've ever made been of a choice that leaves you in danger or not being safe?
I mean, definitely when I was traveling, there was some choices that, looking back, I was like, okay, maybe that I was never in danger, but you know, there was always that I wasn't as smart as I could have been, I think. But I think that's the difference between actual survival danger and the perception of the mind's danger. And I think oftentimes, especially being an emotional authority, where we need to be really clear about like, where am I future projecting with like my hopes and my dreams and my goals, and where am I living in the past of like fear and doubt, and what if it doesn't work out the way I want, and how can we center ourselves in the present to really make a decision that allows us to move forward safely, but also trusting that like, okay, something's going to happen here. Like, I really love the like, what if you can't get it wrong?
What if you can't get it wrong? And in your life, up until this beautiful moment now, Crystal, have you had decisions that you have made, that you took action on, that redirected your path completely?
Oh, 100%. I so when I was traveling in Asia in 2010, I got bit by a bug and I got really sick. And it took me 7 years to figure out that I had Lyme disease, and it altered the whole trajectory of my life. I went back to school for nutrition because I couldn't get any answers about what was happening to my body. And I really do believe like that was necessary. Like that really, it brought me into deeper relationship with my body. It brought me into human design and into understanding myself, not just what I was putting physically in my body, but like mentally and emotionally, what I was consuming. And I think anyone who's had any sort of health scare, especially when your health declines really rapidly, when it's not a slow burn, but one day you're healthy and the next day you're quite sick, it's like you really take stock of your life of like, hey, what's important? What is happening right now? And where am I being guided?
Wow. It's so powerful, is it not, to lean into life and make these choices, not knowing what the outcome is going to be, and then bumping into life where it completely, in the moment, feels like it has shut you down. In the moment, it feels like, whoa, I should have never made that choice. But it takes a few years later to look back and be like, oh, that was actually the most beautiful choice I could have ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I find a lot of my regret, if I can use that word in quotations, because as a 1-3, there's no real
No
regrets, but
regrets.
they often revolved around money and spending money from a place of not feeling enough. And that's been a really powerful thing to reconcile within myself, is like, spending money because I think that I'll be better. Like then I'll be better, then I'll be enough. And those have been some very, very powerful lessons to learn.
Such big lessons. And Crystal and I are both in the House of We, which is a money membership, which was founded by Victoria Washington. And I know myself, like my money journey and my karmic path has definitely been rooted in, I feel like, my 3 line, right? Bumping into life specifically when it comes to money. And I'm wondering, Crystal, when we look at the human being, regardless of the human design, or with your knowledge, taking all of the different variations of the design, what is a path that someone can go down when it comes to making choices that can honor who they are in the moment?
Mm. Mm. Wow, what a beautiful question. I can see, I mean, through the lens of human design, but I think not knowing any human design, it's exactly what we learn in the House of We, like body leads. The body has the answers. And so when we're in the mind trying to make decisions, when we have that pros and cons list, when we're trying to do the most logical thing, we're often ignoring the truth that lives in the body. And so even as an emotional authority, it's like I said, it's like noticing for myself, noticing when I'm in the future and I'm basing a decision based on like, well, if I do this thing, then I'll get this thing. And okay, what are the possibilities and where could it go from here? And I think it's amazing to have these dreams and hopes and goals, but when we're making decisions because we're expecting something, or when we're not making decisions because we're stuck in fear and doubt. And that's where we can come back into the body and just like, where am I holding this? Where is the excitement actually live? And can I just be excited for this thing? And like, not like, okay, if I do this, then this is going to be possible, but like, what could be possible by doing this?
What could be possible? I love that. And tuning into the body and feeling that excitement. And Crystal, right now, there's a specific experience like popping up in my life that I made a decision on. And I still am like, that was a great decision. And also, was it a good decision? Because the mind starts kicking in, right? And also, in that moment, or in the moment of what I'm thinking of is, so I'm an emotional authority too, and I've been really playing with the expression of my wave and how like intense that wave can be, into feeling in of the like whisper of clarity that shows up for me. So regardless if someone has an emotional authority or not, or if someone listening like doesn't even know what an authority is, when it comes to making a decision, sometimes I feel like there's an urgency to make the decision because the opportunity is going to go away. Like literally the deadline is here and I won't be able to experience it. But on my body side, it's like, oh, make the decision. But the mind is like, oh, this isn't a good idea. What have you found in your own life that really supports with calming, clarity, action in that moment?
Mm. Mm. I feel like we live in a world that is like, go, 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 time, 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 and it creates this pressure. And I think that we really need to slow that urgency down, because I know for myself, when I have made decisions based on the pressure of time, it's often misaligned in some way. And so if I would have just given myself even an hour to sit with it and feel into it and drop into the body, I could have seen like, oh, wait, let me see if I can change this one little thing. And it's really just that trust that what is meant for us cannot miss us. And so we don't need to rush anything. It's not a race. And I've really been sitting with the belief that like our energy is our most precious resource. And when we can learn how to protect it by the decisions that we're making and seeing like, who and what am I giving my energy away to? And is this urgency actually required? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from inside of me? Is it coming from outside of me? And so even just asking these questions to get clear on like, okay, no, there is a deadline. Now let me just sit with, okay, there's not a fire, like, but we're like, we get that same energy of like, take action now, as if there's a fire that we have to run from. Or so when we can slow everything down, what I notice is just connecting with my breath, connecting with my body. There is a truth that lives in there, and that's where we're being guided from. And so when we can connect into that and get out of the mind of like, take action now, or like, it's going to pass you by, then we can, even just slowing that decision down. What I found is when I make the decision, even if I'm in it and I'm like, okay, this wasn't maybe like what I exactly thought, I'm like, okay, but I'm in it now. And I took the time to slow down. And so it's not so much of like, oh, why did I do this to myself?
Which is such like a draining
Oh, yeah.
feeling, because then the mind really kicks in those moments.
Mhm.
And Crystal, when we're feeling into the decisions, right, and when we're feeling into slowing down, there's a space that you immediately enter of being kind of the odd person out or the black sheep of the world, whether it's in your family dynamic, your community dynamic. What has that journey been like for you throughout the years of really feeling into your own unique design and loving the people around you, but loving yourself so deeply that you tend to move maybe away from the status quo?
Yeah. It's challenging, it's challenging to learn about yourself in this way, and then be like, okay, now I have all this knowledge, I want to start taking action, and people know me as someone else. And so for me, what I noticed was it was like a permission slip. It was like, oh, okay, these things that I've been shaming about myself or thinking I need to change are actually a core part of who I am. And so if I started embracing it, then what could be possible for the people in my life? If I'm giving myself the permission slip, then I'm automatically opening other people up to a permission slip of a new way of being. And the way human design has really helped me in understanding my relationships. And so, I like to see human design as this two-way mirror. So first it's the mirror, and I'm looking at myself and I get to know myself deeply. And then I spin it around and it becomes the window through which I get to know and understand others. And this has been so impactful in my relationships because I get to see the ways that I am designed to communicate through my emotions, and then the ways that my partner is designed to communicate. And they're completely different. And at first I would be like, why are you talking in this way? Like, why are you? And now I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you need to speak to like find your inner clarity, and I need to speak to understand my emotions. And so it's been so helpful, especially when we're in conflict, to understand this, because I stopped trying to like be like this, and I just sit back and I'm like, okay, this isn't even about me.
Oh, so many chills throughout your expression right now. And taking it a moment back to the very beginning of what you expressed is when you desire to make a change, or when you're feeling called to step into what your design is, playing with that, right? Not having it define you, but to play with the nuances of the expressions that the design is sharing. You spoke of how people may not know who you are anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And also, did you find that you didn't know who you were anymore as you
Mm-hmm.
started to play with it, right? Because it's so easy to say, nobody else is going to understand this next version of me. Everybody else is going to judge me or think I'm a fraud. But what if in the very beginning of you saying that, it's actually your own self?
Mm-hmm.
Does that
Yeah.
resonate?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I know, as a manifesting generator, there was, we're all about like fun and joy and, like these big, vibrant energies. And I remember coming up against this point of like, but there's days where I'm not that. And does that make me out of alignment, or does that make me like, am I doing it wrong? And when I give people readings, I'm like, there's no wrong way to do this. This is like a framework that you get to play with to see like, okay, yeah, there are days when I want to dress up and I want to be big and bright. And then there are days where I don't. And they both get to exist. And so it's not, human design is not a box that you have to fit into. It's an experiment in liberated living. And so it's like, what would happen if as a projector you allowed yourself to rest throughout the day and work when that energy comes? What would happen as a manifesting generator if I allowed myself to change my mind? And really, I was doing a launch recently, and right near the end, I noticed I made the launch too long for my energy. And so near the end, I was like, I'm kind of over this. And I was saying to my friend, and she's like, well, where is that coming from? I was like, honestly, my energy has just shifted away from this launch and towards my art. And I was like, and I want to honor that. And she's like, then you get to honor that. And I was like, yeah, amazing. It's not coming from that place of like, oh, I didn't do very good. Like I had people sign up for my program and it was beautiful, but I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done launching this.
I love this. I love this for you so much. And for every single being that joined in the duration that you were excited to have that space open for, right? Because
Yeah.
if you continued to extend it, Crystal, I wonder if that vibrational frequency of the client coming in and yourself would be like not as meshy or in
Right.
union.
Yeah. And I also see too the way that I kind of structured the program, the number of people that are in it was the perfect amount. Like I was thinking the other day, I was like, if there was more people, I think I would be overwhelmed.
I love this. I love this clarity.
Yeah.
Crystal, I'm resonating as well because I'm in the middle of a launch, or yeah,
Mm.
middle-ish. And as a projector, and I've been exploring my unique design for 2 years now. And, it's a lifelong, I'm sure, journey.
Yes.
And specifically when it comes to business and the marketing and the selling aspect, I can feel in my body the excitement and also the like, oh, I feel like I'm actually following what the majority is saying to do and not honoring what I am here to do. And it's such a powerful experience as a 1-3 to never judge myself for any stage or season I am in the personal or in the professional. And there is no rule book. We can do however we choose. And for you to be empowered by your own expression and design, I am certain has inspired so many other beings who are within your field of connection to act in the way that they feel called to act. And
Yeah.
thank you for being you and playing with your own expressions.
Thank you. And you as well.
Thank you. Oh, it's fun to play with. And then there's moments, as you said, it's like, yeah, I'm playful, I'm giddy. And then I'm like, oh, and then go back to playful and giddiness. And
Yeah.
it's the human remembering.
Yes. Yeah. And we are so, I think that's too, like, being an emotional authority. Like, we know ourselves through the depths of our emotions. And so really allowing ourselves to go there, and not, for myself, it's like not making any of it wrong, but instead bringing curiosity to it of like, oh, wow, what am I feeling right now? Okay. Let's go with that.
Oh yeah, to totally dive into curiosity. And you mentioned before of how you view human design as a two-way mirror, a mirror to yourself, flip it, window out to the other. And from my knowledge about human design, I would love for you to expand of how the emotional authority is 50% roughly of the population. And there's three different waves of the emotional authority. So I'm thinking of loved ones in my life who have an emotional authority, and also myself as a projector on top of the emotional authority that rises from like depression, sadness, all the way up to giddiness, excitement, and the plummets down. I'm wondering what your take is on relatability with the other 50% of the emotional wave, knowing that my emotional wave is a very different expression than their emotional wave.
So, yeah, it's fascinating because we are emotional beings, right? And so it's interesting to have us divided into these two sort of like camps, if you will. The emotional authority, which is really here to feel our emotions, to know ourselves through our emotions, to be curious about our emotions, to learn how to not shame our emotions, to learn how to feel them while detaching from them. It's like a whole nuanced thing. And then the three different waves that are in there. And then we have 50% of the population that is here to be quite like calm and level, but they're absorbing the emotions of people around them. And so they often don't know if what I'm feeling is mine or not mine. And so through the awareness of human design, even that simple question of like, is this mine? Can be so powerful for them. And for the emotional authorities, we're really asking, like, what do I need to give myself? What am I experiencing right now? What am I feeling? What information is this feeling giving me? And just like I said, it's noticing. So when we're in a high, everything seems amazing and we want to stay up there. And when we're in the low, everything seems like it's falling apart and we want to get out of there. But what if we just understood it is the roller coaster and we're there for the ride, and that through it, the whole point is that we know ourselves much, much deeper through our emotions. And so when it comes to understanding the other, I think as an emotional authority, it's probably really hard to understand non-emotional authorities because we're not necessarily at that calm, centered place for long. It's not to say that we're not there, but our waves are just constantly moving. The non-emotional authorities, they have a deeper understanding of what it means because they're kind of riding our waves without being aware of it. And so it's really important for them to get clear on, is this mine? Is this emotion mine? And we're talking obviously the emotions of like sadness and anger, but also joy and excitement and also anxiety and overwhelm. I had a friend not too long ago message about how overwhelmed she was feeling and this is like, she doesn't know why. And I knew she's not an emotional authority. And I just messaged her back. I'm like, is this yours? And she was like, oh my God, this isn't mine. This isn't mine. She's like, I've been feeling this for days and it's not even mine. And so even just that awareness can be so helpful for non-emotional authorities. And so, yeah, I think I think what it comes down to for emotional authorities is having deep compassion for ourselves and knowing the people in our lives that are emotional authorities and having deep compassion for them, and knowing the people that are not, and having awareness of like, can I bring it into the awareness? Like, is this yours? Are you feeling it for the collective? Are you feeling it because you went to the grocery store and now you've picked up someone's anxiety? Are you holding on to it from a friend that like, maybe like gave you some of their energy? And yeah.
It's so powerful. It really is to have this awareness and how human design can completely shift someone's path forward. Most definitely. Crystal, not someone, but people in my life have brought forward to me when I begin to experience the conversation of human design with another. I talk about the emotional authority and how there's 50% of the population who do and 50% who don't have that emotional wave. And they say, what do you mean I don't have emotions? Of course I have emotions. And there's such pushback on that. And I'm curious, it's a twofold. Do you feel like it's even worth a conversation to share with someone about not having emotions? Or do you feel like when someone asks that question, it's an immediate protection maybe of having that energy exchange of conversation?
So the first thing I always love to remind non-emotional authorities is that we're still emotional beings. So when something happens in their life and they experience grief or they experience joy or they experience anger, like that's theirs to feel. But they also are absorbing the emotions of other people. And so that's where they can get really lost in, they might feel very emotional. They might feel like they're constantly feeling emotions because they are. They're just feeling them from outside versus from feeling them from inside. And so if you and I as emotional authorities are in conversation and let's say you're telling me a story and it's very upsetting and I start feeling upset, that's coming from a remembering of I can relate to your feeling. And so that memory, that relating is coming up, is bringing that up in me, but I'm not feeling your feeling. If I'm not an emotional authority and you're telling me a story and you're upset, I have the ability to be absorbing that. And now I'm feeling your feelings, which is a completely different thing. And that's why it can be very triggering, because you're basically telling someone that they're not feeling what they know to be feeling. But it's not that they're not feeling it. It's that we want to shift the perception of if it's theirs or not.
I love that. I love that reframe. And there's so many examples popping up in my mind right now. One specifically is my father was a firefighter, grew up or was 30 years in the department. And so he would always come home and share these really intense stories. And for so long, I thought I just kind of like numbed out, right? So in high school, someone would share a tragic experience with me, and I wouldn't really have this reaction that they're looking for, because I'm like, okay, yeah. And I always thought it was because my dad would shower us with these stories growing up. Right. And I just had the connection of, whoa, sweet girl, that is because you don't have, like, yes, I have empathy for the other, of course. And I'm not going to be showing the emotions on my face or feeling them deeply in that moment because I'm not feeling what they're feeling in that moment.
Yeah,
it's exactly. I love this so much. And looping it back to what you were sharing earlier with your partner of the ways of communication and how human design can fully support relations overall, and the differences, the unique nuances of the other and of yourself, while still remembering that we're all one, right? We're all the energy. And I'm wondering, how has your life transformed with both your partner and other relations that are really important to you with human design? and sharing human design with your relations? Have you found that's been a transformational experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, it was knowing myself first. And even I recognize like so as a manifesting generator, I have a defined throat center. And so for me, my emotional center is connected to my throat center. And so I need to process how I'm feeling through speaking. And I have learned that it's not the best to do that with the person that I'm feeling something about, because I'm not, I need to speak to find the clarity. And when I'm speaking to that person, I'm often saying things that aren't necessarily true. It's based on like what's coming up, and I'm kind of like wading through it all. And so it's been very helpful to be like, okay, let's talk to someone else first so you can wade through all of these feelings to come to your point of clarity so that I can then share that. So that's been amazing. And then I think the other part of your question was like, how has human design impacted my relationships and such? Yeah. So, oh my gosh, just like a myriad of ways. It's quite funny because in my friend group, they'll come to me with something and I'm like, can I share something with you from the lens of your human design?
I love that.
Yeah. And they're just like, please. And so it's quite fascinating to see, even with clients. I have a client who has a defined throat center and her partner does not. And I asked her, I was like, when you're in conflict, do you find that you often make up or like move through the conflict when you're actually not speaking, but you're like texting afterwards? And she was like, oh yeah, that's how we have to move through the conflict, because he doesn't have a defined throat center. And so he has a hard time communicating verbally what's going on for him. But when they can separate and then like write out their experiences, they have an easier time moving through conflict. So even just knowing things like this has been, it's such a powerful system for self-knowledge and for understanding others. My friend's daughter is a mental projector, so she has no energy, and she's 7, and she's so not no, she doesn't have, she has energy. She doesn't have any centers defined below her throat. And so she's so different from a generator child. Like a generator child, you see, they're climbing on things, they're like running around, their energy is almost inexhaustible. She is like, you can take her for like a 30-minute walk and then she's exhausted.
Yeah.
And but she's so chatty. Like she is the chattiest kid, and all of her energy is up in her head. And so it's understanding her and helping her mom understand her has been such a gift for them, because they're complete opposites. And so she's raising her child as she's designed to be, and not as she sees other kids or is like, well, this is how I want you to be, right?
Oh, Crystal, I could tear up. I am tearing up, actually. It's not that I could, I am. Because as a projector, and my brother is a projector and a mental projector as well, too, and a 1-3.
Okay.
And to know that, and he's about to be a father.
Wow.
So, and his partner is a projector.
Oh,
It's
wow.
yeah, it's such a fun family. They're so beautiful together. So bringing it back, and also to feel into the projectors of the world who are coming in, who have the gift of being raised by someone who is aware of their design, is the most powerful gift they would ever receive in their life. And of course, the reconditioning will of course take place because of society and the sacral energy of the world as well. But to be safe in your own home and to play with that, Crystal. And I adore that this conversation has shifted to children, because I work with youth. I've been working with youth for 15 years, and I'm currently in a Montessori setting. And
amazing.
yeah, my colleague is a projector as well. So I've read everyone's design, if they said yes to it, that is. Yeah. And I asked my projector colleague, I'm like, could I pull the designs of the children in the school? And they're 2.9 to 6. And of course, I know for certainty that this space is not actually designed for a projector. My energy is torn every day. I feel like I sat on the bathroom floor and did butterfly tapping and breathed yesterday in the middle of it, because I'm like, I can't. Although honoring that and the youth, and how we have the opportunity for those who feel called to bring human design forward, to instill it within the lives of youth and the families if they are open to it. Crystal, what do you feel, or do you feel, let me reframe, do you feel that human design is here to support the educational system moving forward?
Okay. Instantly, I was like, yes. And then you threw in the word educational system. I was like, oh, the educational system needs like a whole overhaul. And I truly believe human design is here for the next generation. It is here so that we can understand who these little beings are from the moment they enter the world. We can start seeing them as the individual, unique beings that they are. We can start encouraging them to, like, imagine if you knew what it meant to be an emotional authority from as a child, or imagine if you knew what it meant to be not an emotional authority as a child, and really like understanding the energy and the people pleasing and the way that children try and fit themselves into boxes, and the way that we as, no, I'm not a parent, the way that like a society, we're trying to like compartmentalize everything. And the more that we can understand the next generation, and this is through, like, my friend's daughter goes to the Waldorf in Squamish, and her teacher has come to some of my human design workshops, and her teacher's also a projector, and so I've been able to be like, Luna is like a little mental projector. She's like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And my other good friend works in the classroom as well, and he's also a projector. And so it's like just that knowledge, they've been like, oh my gosh, this has been so helpful. And I think that if we can actually get that in, this is where I think the challenge is. How do we bring human design in this way where it's not a box? So we're not like, oh, wait, you're a mental projector, you should have no energy. It's like, well, she's still a child, she's going to have energy, but now we watch the ways in which her energy is different from a generator or a manifesting generator. And so it's really, I think it's important, like when we're bringing anything like this to children, we have to bring it with a high level of curiosity, and not, okay, this is you, so this is how you should act. It's really like, okay, now I understand my child is this way. What am I noticing? What am I seeing? How curious can I be?
Crystal, I'm buzzing. Because like God brought us together for a reason, I swear, with our passion, our being 1-3, being emotional, right? Emotional authority. And this connection with youth and human design. And what keeps buzzing, the image that keeps moving throughout my being, is how I am a vessel that was chosen to bring this design into the life of youth. And it's part of my assignment. I did not choose it. If I could choose to do something else, it would not to be working with youth. I feel it. I feel that deeply. But I also feel deeply that I of course have a choice, but it's like, sweet girl, we are doing this because that's why we came here. And I get wrapped up in my mind sometimes of how do I move forward with this? But then I remember I'm not here to do the creation doing. And then the moment that I see a being like yourself who has the inspired action and the creativity and the curiosity of creation and picture book, right? And I feel into how a visual representation and curiosity of a book explaining the energy type could completely transform not only the child's understanding, but also the adult. Because may we remember that adults are simply like children in grown human bodies. Everyone desires a picture book. Everyone desires the illustration of a story to be moved emotionally. And I'm just so grateful for for the gifts that you have and what you are bringing forward into the world as well.
Thank you.
So exciting.
Thank
I
you.
do have a question before we wrap up our conversation is when it comes to this is more of like a personal question. When it comes to the projectors in your life who are educators, how do you feel that they are creating their life in a way that honors them with the need of like do, go action during the day? So I feel like there's a lot of projectors out there who are educators, and it's because we have this playful energy and we're really like penetrating the other and supporting with guidance and teaching, although the system isn't honoring the energy of the projector. So I'm curious what you have witnessed or heard of.
I think the biggest thing I've witnessed is the conditioning of projectors to be generators or manifesting generators. And I think that's the biggest challenge is like, how do you honor yourself inside of a workplace or a system that doesn't honor you? Right? And it's one thing I can say to you, like, okay, you need to honor your energy and like take breaks when you can. And you're like, yeah, I work with kids. That's not possible. I've seen, I think when it came to like everything that happened during COVID and people shifting away from offices, like the projectors, I feel like were like, this is heaven, I get to do more work in less time and no one's bothering me. And I can just like, my sister is a projector and yeah, she's thriving, not having to be in an office setting where people are distracting her. And she's, her time is so like, there's like a focus on time instead of productivity. I think the biggest thing is like, I really see, like, I truly believe human design is here for the next generation, and the projectors are kind of here to be an integral part in that. And so it's honoring your energy as you can now. And so for projectors, that's so important to be honoring like self-care. And so like, what is your morning routine? Like, what is your bedtime routine? Like, how are you honoring your energy so that you can show up for these little beings and guide them? And I think it's that curiosity around like, what happens when I give myself a spacious morning? What happens when because you also want to focus on the further desire, right? Like when you can focus on like the fact that you are educating and bringing these little beings in the most beautiful one, like, between Montessori and Waldorf and like nature schools. I think these are, if you're going to work anywhere, those are where I would want to be working, right? And so it's honoring your own energy, holding on to the knowledge that, like you said, like this is your life path. And so you get to trust that you have the energy to do it. I think that's been one of the biggest misconceptions that I see with projectors is this idea that they don't have energy. But you do. It's just you have to understand like, where is it coming from and who and what are you giving it away to? And so when we can give ourselves, prioritize self-care, make sure our bodies are healthy, because that's where our energy starts, right? Is in the physical body, making sure our mental body and our emotional and energetic bodies are like very clean. That's why smudging for projectors is so amazing, because they really get to like tap back into like, okay, I've been carrying around this like energetic baggage, and now I'm clear of that. And now my energy is much more aligned. So it's not as simple as saying like, okay, rest throughout the day when you can't do that, but it's learning how your energy, how you can best set yourself up. And maybe that means when you get home at 4 or whatever, you take a nap for an hour and then you're good to go for the evening. And so it's really like, yeah, coming back to just knowing yourself and honoring yourself, and then holding that bigger vision of like, I'm here to guide these little beings into the next realm, the next part of life.
Oh, absolutely. And the words body leads, mind follows via Victoria Washington in the House of We is definitely coming in and asking to be part of this conversation because it's so true, everything you're saying, Crystal. There is a curiosity, and you briefly mentioned it moments ago, of how to be mindful not to put people in a box. And my colleague, a different colleague, raised this question to me when I brought forward the passion to learn each child's human design. She's like, it could be used against them. We're putting them in a system. Like, you're this, so this one isn't as like creative as this one. That's not true. But like this one has more energy to do. But what if I don't want to be the doer of the world and this person gets the rest? That's not fair. Like, to be able to not categorize in that the boxes, I feel like is such a gift that we can bring forward. And yeah, that's coming through, of being mindful of not putting people into boxes.
Yeah. And that's where, understanding the energy types is awesome, but like our human design goes so specific. And so you could have a projector that has 3 of the 4 energy centers defined, and then, or motor centers defined. And then you could have a generator who has 1, just their sacral, maybe their sacral and their spleen. And they probably need more rest because they have a lot more openness in their chart. Whereas a projector that has 3 motor centers defined might be able to go. And then we're looking at like, which motor centers are they? Because if it's the emotional, the root, and the heart, those would be the 3 that you would have. It's like, then we're looking at energy based on how you feel, energy based on your commitment, energy based on like time, and any sort of like that's more the root is like the 100-meter dash. And so you might really like feel these like pulses of energy. And so yeah, it's not as black and white as just saying you're a projector, you don't have a ton of energy. It's like you could have way more energy than a generator, but the generator has a better can have a better understanding of their energy, and has the sacral, which is the most consistent source of energy. But they might also notice that they need a lot more rest and a lot more breaks. And so yeah, it's really about getting curious as opposed to defining you're this way.
Which is so exciting, to infuse curiosity into the world, into the lives of individuals moving forward too, because with curiosity breeds artistic expression. Yes. And Dr. Zach Bush, I've been really leaning into his wisdom and guidance recently. And it's a whole different conversation. And what he speaks of is how he believes humans have brought 2 aspects into the world and into the consciousness and the creation of the galaxies, and its emotions and artistry. And how beautiful that this conversation has been centered around both.
Yes.
Oh, Crystal, we're going to close with our question today. And this is, how has the act of forward movement transformed? Oh, I'm sorry. What is alive in your life right now that is embracing forward movement?
Oh. Well, it's so funny that we got talking about the education system and children, because that is really where I feel myself shifting into, is merging my 2 passions to bring forth illustrated human design for the future generations. And so I'm working on that right now. And then currently also, just focusing on my art. So I have a calendar coming out, and and so my forward momentum kind of is the merging of my 2 passions as I move forward, which feels really good, really exciting, really scary.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. I can feel the excitement. I can see the radiation off of you
Mm,
of just pleasure in this moment of
mm,
birthing a creation of union between your two passions, and
yeah.
the curiosity that you're leaning forward with of what is
Mhm,
this going to be like? How is it going to turn out? Is it going to pivot
mhm,
me in one direction or the other? And
mhm,
I'm so excited to share your creations with the youth that I am surrounded with, and to have the creations be the expression in which they learn from. It's
mm.
so thank you, Crystal. Thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you for what you're bringing to the world and to your own life as well.
Thank you so much.
Oh, if I would love to know, for the individuals who are tuning in today, how can
Mhm.
people find you and receive guidance in your creative expressions from you?
Yeah, so I hang out most on Instagram. So that's at Crystal McIntyre. And yeah, that's where you can kind of see what I got going on. You can go to crystalmcintyre.com. That's where I have my shop for all my inspirational illustrations. And if you want to dive deeper into yourself through the lens of human design, I do one-on-one readings as well.
Oh, I'm so excited for our conversation today and for
Yeah.
all your wisdom and just joyful, joyful presence. Thank you for your beingness, Crystal.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been incredible.
Oh, so much love.